Solomon Northup, a free black man, lived a life brimming with the simple joys of freedom in Saratoga Springs, New York. The year was 1841. He was a skilled carpenter and violinist. He had a wife, Anne, whom he loved dearly. They had 3 children together, Elizabeth, Margaret, and Alonzo. Life was good, filled with music, laughter, and the promise of a brighter future. Northup had no reason to believe his life would ever change. He was, after all, a free man. Little did he know, fate had a cruel twist in store. One spring day, 2 men approached Northup with a tempting proposition. They claimed to be circus performers in need of a talented violinist for their act in Washington, D.C. It seemed like an opportunity too good to pass up. The men were charming, their words persuasive. Trusting and naive, Northup agreed to accompany them, unaware he was walking into a carefully laid trap. He bid farewell to his family, promising a swift return. He had no idea it would be 12 long years before he saw their faces again. The journey south was pleasant at first. The men were jovial, sharing stories and laughter. However, as days turned into nights, a creeping sense of unease began to gnaw at Northup. He couldn't shake off a growing suspicion about his companions. Their demeanor had shifted subtly, their smiles no longer reaching their eyes. The weight of his decision, the trust he had so blindly placed in these strangers, pressed down on him. He was a bird lured by a catchy tune, only to find himself trapped in a cage. The transition from freedom to captivity was swift and brutal. One evening, under the guise of celebration, Northup's companions offered him drugged wine. The world around him dissolved into a hazy blur. He woke up in chains, his freedom ripped away as easily as a thief snatches a purse. Gone was the warmth of the sun on his skin, replaced by the cold, hard reality of a slave pen. He was stripped of his name, his identity, and thrust into the dehumanizing abyss of the slave trade. He was no longer Solomon Northup, the free man, but simply Platt, a runaway slave from Georgia. The following days were a blur of fear and disorientation. He was transported like cargo, shackled and silent to New Orleans. The faces around him were a mixture of despair and defiance, each telling a silent story of stolen dreams and shattered lives. Northup, still reeling from the betrayal, refused to believe this was his fate. He clung to the belief that his true identity, his life as a free man, would somehow save him. He desperately tried to convince his captors to reason with them, to appeal to their humanity. But his pleas fell on deaf ears, met with scorn, threats, and the stinging lash of the whip. His first owner, William Ford, was a relatively decent man, at least by the horrific standards of the slave trade. Ford recognized Northup's intelligence and skills, treating him with a modicum of respect. Yet even Ford's kindness was a gilded cage, a reminder of the freedom that had been stolen. Every task Northup performed, every order he obeyed, was a bitter pill to swallow. His mind remained fixated on escape, on reclaiming his life. However, the reality was a harsh mistress. Escape was a near impossibility, a dangerous gamble that could cost him his life. Fate, however, had other plans. Northup's life took another cruel turn when he was sold to John Beats, a man as different from Ford as night is from day. Beats was the embodiment of cruelty, a man who reveled in the suffering of others. Under Beats' reign, Northup endured the true horrors of slavery. He was subjected to backbreaking labor, constant humiliation, and the ever-present threat of violence. The whip became an instrument of torture, leaving scars that ran deeper than skin. Northup's spirit, though battered, refused to break. He found solace in small acts of defiance, in clinging to the memories of his family, in the hope that one day he would taste freedom again. His life took yet another turn when he was sold again, this time to Edwin Epps. Epps was a different kind of monster, a religious fanatic who used scripture to justify his cruelty. He saw himself as a benevolent master, blind to the hypocrisy of his actions. Under Epps, Northup witnessed firsthand the depths of human depravity, the casual brutality that permeated the institution of slavery. It was during his time on Epps's plantation that Northup met Patsy, a young woman whose spirit, like his, refused to be broken. Patsy became a source of strength for Northup, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. Their shared experiences, their pain and resilience, forged a bond of friendship that helped them survive the darkest of days. Yet their friendship was a double-edged sword, a constant reminder of the loved ones they had lost, the lives they yearned to reclaim. The Unbroken Spirit, Defiance and Hope.